Alright, I'm going to tell you a part of my life that demonstrates why I do and why I do not support women being registered for selective services in the drafts. I am a veteran, and when I was 17 years old, I always played the part of a soldier in Nam in a game called Nam with my friends. I could hide unnoticed in bodies of water like a Navy SEAL's frogman. I also played Battle Guard, where I was a savage woman with a sword and a shield. I loved fighting and being mentally prepared for thinking fast on my feet and being able to protect myself in the name of make-believe wars. I wanted to be Joan of Arc, fighting and unified with a purpose to conquer and be a part of something bigger than myself. When I was 17, I was in the U.S. Army JROTC. I was the captain of the drill team. I led the first school from Utah to attend the national competitions using the drill team and rifle exhibition performances. My love interests when I was 17, I had two of them. One was, he was in the Air Force JROTC out of Layton, and he taught me how to spin rifles as an exhibition rifle specialist. I took it to my school and taught my classmates. And then number two, my school U.S. Army JROTC sweetheart, who later became a Marine, taught me to have bravery and to be fearless and fight. I came home many nights learning to fight with him with so many bruises and wounds. And when I was 17, I used my affiliation to with the JROTC officers to get into the U.S. Marines. But because at that age of 12, I had needed treatment for emotional and psychological issues that made my application to join the Marines a big fat no-go. I was disheartened when I was in the high school JROTC and found out that women could not fight from the front lines because I wanted to be a hero, and I found myself constantly arguing or debating the issue because I didn't think it was fair. However, when it was explained to me, especially explained to me about the cleanup for proper hygiene when a woman menstruates, I was okay with not being at the front of the lines for that reason alone. It was sensible. So in 2001, I went to New York City in April, and I saw for the first time the Twin Towers. And then later that year, September 11th, those two Twin Towers were destroyed, with how we understand that it was destroyed. So I volunteered to serve in the U.S. Army at that point, and enough time had passed since my treatments as an adolescent, I was able to join. So it did take about 9 months for my MOS to have an opening. So I joined September 29th of 2002. I went to MEPS in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I flew to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and started basic training. I had a little boy at the time. He was 4, 3 to 4. He was 3 turning 4. That was being watched by supportive family members, and my MOS at that time was a 91 Tango, which was an animal care specialist then. It's changed now. Thank goodness I had joined, because in my personal life, I was in a spiraling marriage and I was in a self-destructive mode. So the military timing helped me get away from the mud pit I had gotten myself into and helped change the course of my life. I want to share specific memories that would demonstrate how a woman would not do well in the combat zone unless she was physically prepared for it, which is possible, but also extraordinary. The first one, looking back, my match that they paired me with was a male. He was a 5'8" male, about 150 pounds. He was a thin guy, and I was 5'7" and more than 160 pounds, but I was rapidly losing weight because of basic training. So I don't know at what point I was at, but me and this particular soldier, we were always at a standoff with our hand-to-hand combat and pugil stick wars. Our core work of our bodies were tit for tat at a standstill. But when we were 12 feet up on a wall, and it was our job to get everyone across this wall, and I was the second to the last person, I laid my body over the top of the ridge and I reached down for him as he ran and jumped and grabbed my arm. Luckily, my arm did not discombobulate, but I could not curl my bicep to bring him up. I could not get him to the final point so that he could grab the wall at the top of that 12-foot wall and get over the other side. He hung there for a very long period of time. It took having somebody who had a stronger upper body stature to come up and get back up on the wall. Like, they were already on the other side and they had to come back up and come and save the moment. Had that been a frontline situation where we were fighting and time was of the essence, that would have been a no pass go scenario. Like, he could have been killed, or I could have been killed. It would have put us in a detriment that I feel like it's not an uncommon scenario for a woman to not be able to curl up 150 pounds like in a curl up. You know, our biceps are not meant to build to pull somebody up like that, to get him to that point. He just hung there because my arm was strong enough to hang there, but that was it. Let's see. And then, and I just want to remember, I was doing physical fitness training every single day. We were waking up at 5 and we had the morning, was it called taps or something going off? We're waking up and we're getting into our PTs and, huh? Oh, Reveille. It's Reveille. Sorry, I couldn't remember. Taps is for funerals, I think. Anyways, Reveille gets us up and we're going. We got our, our sweats on back then. They had sweats before they had those. I was actually there when they had changed over to those reflective gears, the reflective physical fitness gear. So I got both. I got sweats and the reflective physical fitness gear because I was there right then at that pinnacle of time, which was really freaking cool. So I was not an unhealthy person. I was a pretty strong person. I was doing push-ups every day. I was getting to where I could do 40 push-ups a day, which for a woman at 160 plus pounds to do, that wasn't easy to do. But at some point I was able to start building and building. So I wasn't weak. And so just thinking about this, we're talking about women in general, and I know that I was pretty strong. I passed basic training, so I know I was a pretty strong woman. And so for somebody to be a woman to go ahead and get to the front lines, they're going to have to be extraordinarily fit. They're going to have to be able to, use those curl ups and do pull ups for their own body weight and do curl ups to be able to pull somebody else's body weight. That would have really disappointed other soldiers if their comrade was a male and couldn't do it. There wouldn't have been an excuse for that on the front lines. Like there was no way that would have been, passable for a male. Okay. So, and then, the second one is number 2, we were 10 stories up in a tower. And at the top of this 10-story tower was a pit and a net and a rope on a pole to swing across from the pit from one side of the tower to the other side. And the point was to get across and not fall into the pit. And I fell into the pit. I don't think I even got halfway there. Like I couldn't, again, hold my body strength up, my body weight up with my arms in this fashion, in this bicep space, I know, like I said, there are women who can do that. So I'm not saying that they can't join and that they can't do this, but literally it isn't the same. It is not equal. As the way our bodies are built, we are not equal. Okay. But it's fair because we can have babies and guys can't. So I guess that makes it even. I don't know. So I fell down into the net and here I am looking 9.5 stories down from the net, and that was frightening. That was so scary. And I saw many other women also fall into the net and it was frightening. And so again, it's just kind of demonstrating that we are not physically the same. So I just wanted to point that out, that I know for a fact, if I work towards it, yes, I've seen women, be able to lift bigger weights than men, they can, and that's what they strive to be. But a woman in general, like they would really have to put some work into that, and that's not always what we're always about, so any of us, even men, So I did pass basic training. I got noted for being a marksman. I went into AIT at Fort Sam Houston, and then my permanent duty station was at Fort Stewart, Georgia in the city of Hinesville. I had patched things up with my spiraling relationship with my husband, and we tried to make things work again, and I got pregnant after I'd gotten to my first permanent duty station. My son, like I said, was he was 4 years old. And from the culture that I'm in, we try to have our kids closer together so they can play together, so we can make instant friends. And this was already kind of a scenario. Anyways, so when I got pregnant, I was glad to receive the baby. But we did rifle drill right after I got pregnant, and we had to drop down to the prone position really, really fast. And my body couldn't hold on to the pregnancy because of just the training. And all that is, it's not, trying to make anyone feel sorry for me. I've come to terms with it. I got pregnant fairly quickly after that and got the little gift daughter that I wanted. So so it's okay. But I just wanted to say this, like, it didn't take much for me to lose that. And I just want to say, women, it's not necessarily weakness, but we're just different. And so, I mean, if that's what a woman aspires to be, then let her find a way to be able to serve how she would like to be, how she would like to serve. However, I don't know how we will ever be able to, work around our cycles. So if they can find a way to make that work, or if they can like somehow make sure that it's very, very consistent, maybe having a birth control that either makes it go away, or some kind of hormone therapy that makes it go away, or I don't know how determined a woman would be to want to fight on front lines. I thought I was pretty determined, but like I was soothed by the fact that that's what, we would be left with, a problem out on all over the plains of whatever jungle we're in, or whatever fighting place we're in, where we're not going to have access to all the, sources that we need to stay hygienically clean. And so that, I know I keep talking about that, but that really is going to be our biggest issue as far as like women in the front lines. I do support that women should be in supportive roles to men who are in the combat zone. I do think that if there's a will and a way for a woman who desires to be in that combat zone, she should be able to do so and defend her country and fight alongside her male counterparts. I would love to see the government help with that in making it a successful proposition for women to serve in front lines if that's what they desire. I believe that people do have good intentions, and I think that it could be on the horizon someday, but I have no idea how close we are to it. And I feel like that this feminist society has treated men unjustly. I really can't talk about it enough that I really feel like that we went overboard. And because we put so much weight into equal rights, and it's not that we shouldn't have equal rights. Of course we should have equal rights, but there was a diminishing of men while we did it. It wasn't a balanced way of doing things. We went, way too far. And because of that, I'm doing another video of the comments that were made from people who, from my first video on YouTube about the draft. And some people were like, hey, that's not news. It's not new news and stuff like that. And I get it. I feel like I've lived under a rock. I'll be the first to admit it. I don't know a lot. I'm just now coming into a digital space from analog. I feel like I have lived under a rock, truly. I'm not always acclimated to everything. Obviously, not everyone could be, but it's just really, really heartbreaking to see how many men feel like that women deserve to have to be on this registration as well, that we deserve it because we have made them feel useless. We've made them feel without value, and that's not fair. And we need to make harmony out of that. We need to fix it, because I feel like we can, things should be treated by case-by-case scenario, and not just lump one person into a whole, or like one gender into a whole category of someone did me wrong kind of thing. Women and men of the United States, it is time for us to become more harmonious and unified in our target, and stop playing he did and she did and he said, she said, but somehow form a bond and a way to make it work. We can't be divided and conquer. We need to do this together in unity. All right. Thank you for your support and your time. I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care, guys. Bye.